Oh,
Go back side to side. We could even add a little horn in. The DJ's in the house.
that's a lot.
Can uh, everyone welcome to a Rocky Start podcast. I hope you guys all had a great Memorial Day weekend. Hope you guys spent it well with your family. Ken, did you eat some steaks on Memorial Day?
I actually had bratwursts
Ooh,
instead. We did brats on the grill and all that stuff. Yeah, I didn't do steaks on Memorial Day. But honestly, like almost every day is steaks, so it's kind of nice to have something different.
yeah, like it's a holiday. I'm gonna change it up.
Yeah. Plus, I got another grill and I wanted to break it in, so
Nice. I had a
yeah,
burger yesterday, and I had
it's
some
good for you.
yeah, some Chinese food to finish off the night. That's also really good for you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
get you some MSG.
I know, man. I ate terribly yesterday, but you know what? It was all worth it.
Do you feel good after that? Like honestly?
Yeah, I feel fine. I also
Yeah.
I also work out 7 days a week, so it's like I'm always doing something. But I see what you mean. Like, do I sleep okay? Like
Yeah.
sometimes when I eat like that, like I do feel crappy. But I mean, I feel good, man. It's
Okay.
Tuesday
Good.
morning. Little bit of sleep. Dog kept coming on and jumping off the bed last night, so it's like interrupting the sleep, man. But yeah, how's everything going on your side of the world? How's the card game? Talk to us.
It's good, man. I mean, I think everybody who's in cards right now has at least heard that we're in a dip or things are in a valley. I've been hearing valley a lot. Things are slow. There's nothing really exciting out that's new product. Some of the college 2021 stuff's come out for football, which, I mean, that stuff's nice. It just doesn't command the prices that the NFL stuff does.
Right.
So, like myself, we tend to blow that stuff out. The customers can make some good money if they hit. Over the weekend, we hit, I think we hit every rookie autograph that matters except for Mac Jones. Like we hit Trevor Lawrence, we hit Justin Fields, Trey Lance. We hit a couple autographs, so that was kind of cool. But
With, with as hot as the NFL stuff has been, do you do you expect that stuff to like kind of hold value long term if these guys are like really good? Like if the Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields numbered cards autographed, even though they're college jerseys, like do you expect them to sell for well later on?
not long term. Personally, I don't. And the reason for it is, I mean, they've been making college stuff for a long time, and you can buy even Mahomes college rookie autos for pretty cheap. I mean, it's literally like 1/10 of what the NFL like the version will bring for like an NT.
Okay.
It's just so much less. Now, again, like if you're buying from us and you're buying college stuff, you're paying so little that you're probably money up if you hit anyway. But in the same breath, like long term, it's never going to even touch what the NFL stuff's going to be.
Yes, I mean that's true. Even the Patrick Mahomes rookie stuff is nowhere even close to what his college stuff is, right?
Yeah, and even in like basketball, we see that too. And it's like the college uniform. Like you can buy an insane college uniform Zion auto for almost no money compared to what like his NBA uniform is.
Right. And like with everything going how it's been, whether because I right now the NFL is hot. I still see
Yeah,
I go look at auctions like
yeah.
people are just getting ready for what's coming up with the NFL. I have you ever seen it like this where this time of year where basketball is usually at its all time high and peak and everyone's all on board with basketball and baseball is in this just kind of weird part of the season where it's just really long and once you hit July, that's when baseball gets a little bit more interesting.
Yeah, I definitely have seen this progression with baseball's kind of low right now. Like it's kind of like eh. And then basketball is usually really hot. I think we're also at a disadvantage of the two big rookies this year um, are not in the postseason. So when we're not seeing Lamelo, we're not seeing Anthony, we're not seeing even Wiseman. Um, it's just as far as market driving, there's nothing really to drive the market. And it's kind of odd too because like even if, say LeBron comes out tonight and just beasts everything and puts up 40 points and they win, LeBron stuff's already so high,
Yeah.
and with all this like kind of market trepidation where people are afraid that stuff is, overpriced right now or overhyped, I just feel like it's not even going to really move his price. Like, I don't think if he goes off tonight that tomorrow you're going to see his cards be worth a lot more than they are today. I really don't. Um, we're also starting to see a pullback in the reactive nature of the market, in so much as it's taking more than one game now for a guy to explode. Um, a good example is Dylan Brooks, who we talked about the other day. I think Dylan Brooks is a gamer. Like, I really like his game. I like his mental attitude on the floor. His stuff really hasn't gone nuts. Like, it could have. And again, part of that is he might still get bounced in the first round, and we don't see that guy again for, 7 months. But
Right.
in the same breath, 4 months ago, a guy had one big game, your stuff would explode. I mean, again, Bobo is a great example. Guy plays an exhibition game and his stuff goes up 10x. We're not seeing that in the market anymore. But what I will speak on that I think is really interesting is 20 years of selling cards for a living. I have never seen an NFL postseason where stuff did not decline sharply. This postseason, we've seen the opposite. Stuff has risen to levels that I really can't even understand why they are so high. And then guys who are injured are selling better than the rookie of the year in some cases. Burrow stuff is starting to overtake Herbert in a lot of ways. It's to the point right now where if I was in a big high dollar break, I'd rather hit a Burrow than even a Herbert. It's really odd. And Tua stuff has really come on in the last month. Like if you're sitting on big Tuas, which I know a guy that had almost every major Tua that existed, like literally like all the 101 shields, everything, and he recently sold everything. And he, by recently, I mean like 2 months, 3 months ago now. Like if he
Wow.
would have held till now, he would have got a really big number, more than he did. I mean, he still had a lot of cards sell over 10,000, but Tua stuff's through the roof, Burrow stuff's through the roof, and I feel like people are kind of getting flat on Herbert. And there's a lot of factors to that. Also, like he plays for the Chargers.
Right, and I think just the overall just hype around Herbert. Everyone is like, okay, Herbert. Everyone's on him. What else can we try to get? That's
Hmm.
that's why they're jumping into Tua. That's why they're jumping into Burrow. I would jump in on Burrow. I'm staying away from Tua. I have a few of his numbered cards where I'm just like, cool. I'm sending those out to consignment. I would love to get them graded and send them off, but it's just better to try to get them raw. Why I have the time in before next season because I just don't expect him to be next to those two guys, Herbert and I mean I'm not saying he's not going to be good, but I'm not going to say he's also going to be as good as those two quarterbacks as well. And plus with the other rookies coming out too, it's just a lot.
There's going to be a lot of focus on QBs this year, and somebody from this recent class is going to have to fall off. There's just all the hobby dollars, especially in the beginning, are going to go to the top five guys. And, to me, again, it's for Herbert's value, which some of his stuff's just astronomical, but he's going to have to win. Like, they can't just be the guy that puts up 300 yards and less than one interception a game if he doesn't have a winning record. Like, I think it's going to really hurt his hobby value.
It could, but still long term out of the guys in this draft, who would you rather take? It's like I would still anyways rather hold on to Herbert if I'm look at it. He hasn't
I
had the
mean,
major injury and you know, that's just one up on the other guys.
convince me he's not Philip Rivers.
I mean, well, Philip Rivers didn't win Rookie of the Year, and he didn't break every single, rookie record. So that's just it right
But
there.
that's why I think this really matters though this year is he can't be flat because I think with so many other options for to spend your money, especially with this draft class being so offense heavy, um, I think he's going to have to do a lot. I really do. He's also going to have to. I mean, the market's fickle. no matter what he does this season, outside of a postseason berth, essentially, he's not going to likely be able to repeat the numbers he repeated this past year. I mean, he did set every record. So the bar is so high from him. Like, no matter what he does, he's going to probably be a little lesser than he was last year, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, possibly, or I think obviously I think his numbers will improve just because of the extra game, as long as he stays healthy. Because now that we're going to have a 17 game season, I think his numbers are going to overall at the end of the year overtake it. But I also do think that because he now has a better offensive line and he has another weapon there, so like I do think that he could be better. I
I mean,
mean,
do you think he's going to be a 300-yard a game guy like he was this past season? I mean, I
I
just
do.
think that's such a big ask.
I do. I don't think it's that big of an ask because I think it's such a passing league now that I think that even no, the middle tier quarterbacks can almost reach those numbers. It's
I think
just
it'd be interesting to see what happens with Hurts and Love if they get, especially if Love gets any action. I know, the Packers have made their announcement. We're not moving Rodgers, but I'm not 100% that Rodgers won't just sit out.
yeah.
I don't know.
And if you're Justin Fields, like I mean, I think he's gonna come out and show something. I think the team is gonna be around him more than they will Rodgers too, right? If he does come out. I mean,
Yeah,
Look how Rodgers has treated them. I mean,
yeah.
pretty much
I wouldn't want to be in the locker room with those guys. Like, there's
no
no way.
the the overall the overall just inconsistency that Rodgers has put that team through now. I mean, he's already made it clear. They say we're not moving him, but like, I wonder how they went to all the rest of their players. And I mean, I guess the GM and the the front office doesn't care because they're like, this guy just won the MVP. We want him back. You know, they maybe thought they had another year with Rodgers or something, but I mean,
Well, in all sincerity, like we are not privy to the conversation that Rodgers is having with his teammates. We know the media version and we know what he's saying about the organization.
right.
But at the end of the day, for all we know, man, he had a huge blowout barbecue on Memorial Day and everybody was there and they partied together and maybe they're tighter than we realize. I mean, we don't know. We can't speculate. That said, if I was his teammate and I was his O line, I might accidentally have to tie my shoe on a couple blocks this year.
I mean, man, but it's so true though. Like Rodgers, even coming out live and saying the stuff he said in the past few months, it's like whether if you're barbecuing or not, this you have to realize like that mandatory practices are coming and this guy might not be there and he decides to show up in August. Like, are you really going to want to huddle around this guy? Not really. If Fields is there taking the reps, like and Blake Bortles, why aren't you going to huddle around those two guys over Rodgers? I know he's the reigning MVP, but still, it's like it's a team effort, and this guy is not for the team; he's just for himself.
Yeah, I mean, Love's definitely interesting. And again, I was screaming when all of this was going on, sell your Love stuff, sell your Love stuff.
Yeah,
I personally have none. I don't have a single Love card. I think long term he could be an awesome buy. But that's the other thing. And again, when Love got hot, selling him made sense. If Rodgers reports to camp and if nothing happens and he does suit up and he is the starter this year, buy Love stuff because it's going to be astronomically less. Because guys don't like to wait, man. The hobby is so
yeah,
show me what you've got right now. And they don't want to wait a year or two for this guy to be on the shelf.
yeah. And it's been so reactive. The whole market has been pretty reactive to everything. I and I still just go back to I think people are just obviously the NFL is the most popular sport in America, so it's like that is like driving the excitement around all this too.
Mhm.
It's like the draft was just so recent. I think that's why people are just stockpiling and getting ready. And with basketball, I just there's something about it with this postseason. Maybe it's just the timing of everything. People aren't just wanting to spend money like that, and maybe they're just kind of scared off with the dip that's been happening. And then for others who are taking advantage, like, cool, I saw what this was like, in this last year or two. I'm going to take advantage of it and get stuff at a lower price and do that.
Well, I also think we're dealing with something that doesn't affect 99% of us, but so I'm going to give you an example. A Jordan rookie PSA 10 sells for 780,000, and then one sells for 450,000 3 months later. If you see a graph of this, it's pretty gross, right? Like, oh my god, that guy lost 300 G's. What is upsetting about that is 99% of us aren't buying PSA 10 Jordan rookies.
No.
That market is so manipulated on that ultra high end anyway. Um, it's the old adage of if I have 30 of them and my cost basis is 100K, which is about what they used to be. Some of them were less. I mean, obviously I sold mine for much less. Um, and I can somehow have an auction bring 750K, and I have 30 of them. It's worth it for me and my buddies to make that one look like it's 750K, and now my entire collection just went up $3 million
Right.
or whatever it may be, or $30 million. And now the market's starting to shake back down to what's reality because it's no longer being pumped. So I think your average collector is seeing these big losses, but they're not real because the $750,000 sales weren't real. They were speculatory at best, if they were even sales that did actually go through. And the reality is a PSA 10 Jordan rookie with a 311 pop should probably be about 75 to 80K, in my opinion.
Yeah. And what about the cards that are getting auctioned off? Like the LeBron rookie that sold for what, almost 5 million or something.
Yeah. I think you're ultra high end in this hobby, like your stuff that's almost holy grail ish.
Yeah.
99% of us, again, are never even going to see that card in real life. It's the equivalent of us watching, a Monet sell for 35 million, and we can judge it like we know what we're talking about. Most of us have no idea about that ultra high end market. Myself, even as somebody who's been in the card industry, that's not the core market. If you really want to tell me if the market's good, what does a Mahomes optic hollow sell for
Right.
versus what it was during the season versus what it was 2 years ago? Like, show me a Mahomes rookie 2 years ago. That's what matters to me. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
No, totally. And even with everything that's kind of going on, I think as in everything, you're going to see certain dips. Like, when's the last time you seen a dip like this in the sports card realm?
This one's pretty tough. It's pretty deep because I think a lot of fear is moving the market. A lot of people feel like it ran up way too fast and now it's falling down the hill, not just walking down the hill.
Right.
Um, this is a little more of an exaggerated dip than we usually see just in football at the off season. Football usually in the off season tanks.
Right.
So again, go back to what you said. We're seeing records being broken even in the last month on high end, ultra expensive stuff. The stuff that's getting crushed right now is your kind of middle of the road common stuff.
Yeah.
And I do believe, it's going to get interesting, especially because I think cards being available at retail, the $20 boxes, the $10 packs at Target, and all those things, when those were more attainable, obviously they're having some issues now with being able to distribute, but that customer base who buys a Target box for $20, rips it, and hits a $100 card is different than the customer base that invests 10,000 a month into certain players.
And, that is a good point. Ever since the whole Target, Walmart fiasco that's happened, the card market has kind of dipped in that time. You know,
Mhm.
And that is something that I guess I haven't noticed, and it's kind of maybe relatable to all this too. It's like people are like, oh, I can't get certain things, and other stuff is probably too high. I'm just going to hold off until maybe Panini or Target figures something out, or like with all this. And I did see a solution. I don't know if you saw it the other day, where they're saying they're going to probably bump up the prices on, just instead of selling stuff for $20, they're going to sell for 40. They're going to double the prices. Do you see that having a fixation to that kind of problem going on? 'Cause
In no way whatsoever. What's going to happen is the stuff that was already not sellable at 20 is going to be more not sellable,
right,
and your Prism, your Select, your higher end is still going to have a multiplier. You're still going to be able to probably double or triple your money on if you buy it at retail. But I think the issue with the retail in general for me is it brings in a lot of collectors that are flippers and that want to be able to buy for 20, flip it quickly for 60, make 3x their money, or rip it and turn their stuff that they hit, and then they get frustrated that they don't understand why that, well, I hit, this Out of Chronicles Herbert, but it only brings $6. Well, you have to understand, how many blaster boxes are there if every store in every single city and every single state, etc., has this stuff, guys? Like, you're not dealing with a limited production item. That's why you're seeing these records being set for this rare stuff, because rare stuff's actually rare.
right,
If again, and that's what's so frustrating is I hear these people complaining, but anyone who's been in the card business for the last 2 years, if you didn't make money in 2020 and the beginning of 2021, the first 4 months at least, you did it wrong. Like, you really did it wrong. Hopefully you learn from that and you can come back from it. But the reality is there was plenty to eat, and I think a lot of people got fat, and now it's a little bit harder to make money. So people are getting frustrated, and I think we'll have some shakeout. There'll be some people who leave the hobby because they're no longer 10xing their money every week. But also, like, buy, like, we don't really have to have you, like, that's not the core demographic or core market.
right. In long term, a year from now, you're not going to, like, you or I aren't going to be worried about what our rookie cards are going for, what these are going, because we know what that's going to pick back up to, and we know, like, for sure how we just know the sports market. Everyone loves sports. People want to collect their favorite players. It's just been a cycle like this. I mean, going back to when I was a kid, it's like I remember I was like, I wanted everything Vince Carter, and it's like still, like, to this day, it's like I still have all my Vince Carters from when I was little.
Well, but this also brings me to, because we do our little card on the desk segment,
Yeah.
that's why I still feel that vintage, this is a 53 Bobby Shantz 4.5 that's got great color,
That's
but
good
I
color.
still feel like this is a better hedge against any kind of market fluctuation than buying any player that is active. I would rather have a stack of these than even a stack of Brady's.
That's interesting to say, just because of Brady. I mean, why do you say that compared to Brady? Because
Yeah, I'll tell you
Brady.
exactly why.
Okay.
Because if he's still a modern player, he still has high production cards, he is still active in the league, and as much as he is the benchmark and he is the top of the food chain in football, reality is if all of the guys that buy modern keep being told the market's crashing, we're in a valley, we're having, we're in this terrible lull, you know, again, I think people are going to shy away from spending big money on anything
Right.
when it comes to modern, especially players who are still active. Again, Bobby Shantz can't blow out his knee. Bobby Shantz can't have a bad, scenario in the news. I mean, there's so much stuff that can happen to a modern day player that can crush values. And again, the vintage market is still hot as can be. I looked at Mantle rookies 2 days ago just because I was curious, and I was like, I could pick up another one. That'd be kind of cool. There's nothing even available, and the stuff that's available is 4x what it should be. So it's just like, okay, vintage market's still hot as fire.
And you're right, it still would be. And we'll go back to I have two cards on my desk, and then there's another one I actually want to ask you about. One that I picked up on Friday. Picked up the Jeter
Yeah,
SP, a card
nice.
that will not go down. That
Yeah.
especially with that documentary coming out, it's like even with that, if that comes back a seven or an eight or nine. A seven selling for 500, an eight selling for 1,000, and a nine selling for like 4 or 5 grand, and a 10 selling for like 100,000, $200,000. And it's because Jeter is, one of the greatest players of all time at shortstop. He's a Yankee, and he won 5 rings. And then the
Yeah,
other,
I mean, it doesn't hurt the guy's value that he was very marketable. I mean, he's a good-looking kid that
yeah.
dated supermodels and played a big position. The shortstop position is the sexiest position on the baseball team, right? I mean, that's the flair. That's the guy that usually your shortstop is your big draw. It's kind of interesting to me.
Right, yeah, because first, I mean, depending on, I mean, it just really depends. So with someone like Bryce Harper, when they came in the league, he's an outfielder. He had all the hype and all that. So it just really depends on the swagger of the player. Because Harper, a lot of swagger with that guy, with his hair, with being a phenom at 15 and all that. Jeter being a Yankee and being who he was just kind of shot him up.
He
It's
also
like,
had a lot of good endorsements too. So you saw him, like, I mean, he was in a lot of commercials. Like his retirement commercial was unbelievable.
oh
When
man,
he's walking through New York, like, my God,
yeah,
that was
no,
strong.
yeah, that was one of the best, and I think one of my favorite, probably is my favorite retirement story. Just like everything, I
Hmm.
even love a story about how he started the Players Tribune, kind of right going into his retirement because he was like the first one to release it on there, and then Kobe released his retirement the year or 2 years after or something. They're all through the Players Tribune, but yeah, getting off topic, but yeah. The other card I was gonna mention about was here's the Steph Curry draft card, which
Yeah,
absolutely does not, it doesn't do nothing, but it almost does next to nothing compared to his tops rookie or his other rookies. But yeah,
yeah, it's like one hundredth of a tops.
yeah. So like that upper deck draft card,
But
him
he's
and
also in like his
Davidson.
Davidson uniform. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not as cool of a card. That said, it's affordable
right.
because most people aren't going to buy his tops. His tops is absolutely through the roof. If I go to a card show and I even see one, that's pretty rare anymore.
Right.
Like, I mean, at least in the Midwest, we're not seeing those cards.
And being on the baseball topic, there was this NFT we were talking about earlier. Baseball's getting into it, kind of, and they sold the Lou Gehrig his speech in NFT, and there's at auction right now. What are your thoughts on that being an NFT and just NFTs in general?
I think they're an interesting segment of the market that only can attain true long-term store of value if you can get exclusive rights to the content. So what I mean by that is if I buy Lou Gehrig's speech and I am the only one who can broadcast it forever
Yeah.
unless you pay me a licensing fee because I own the content, that is the only way long term to me these things have any actual store of value.
So is that how it plays out? So baseball doesn't own the right to that no more. It would be the owner of that official NFT.
I just don't see why baseball would not just put into every contract that they own all NFTs. I think what you're going to see, and players are starting to do this, you're going to see players starting to make their own. There's going to be marketing companies that start to make them of players. At some point, baseball, basketball, and football are not going to sit on the sidelines. They're going to say, whoa, 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 boys, we own that.
Right.
It'd be no different than if, I mean,
The
pick any
highlights.
job. Yeah, there's just no reason to believe that the leagues and the players are not going to end up owning these things or being compensated. But again, if ESPN wants to run that and I'm the only one who owns it, I can probably charge a hefty royalty to play it, right? I mean, give me some licensing, let's go. But how do you get around the fact that right now I can go watch that speech on YouTube? Now, again, the licensing is where that comes in. If YouTube doesn't have, you know, people with licenses being able to actually play that,
Well,
then those videos can be taken down.
Right, and that's the thing is like the leagues like basketball, or baseball. They let YouTube to stream the stuff. They
Yeah,
let people, content creators break those down to highlights, and YouTube pays them. But
yeah,
the leagues would be like, no, you're not gonna do that. We're gonna host this on our own channels, and you gotta watch it through ours.
yeah. Which I mean, it's odd that they haven't done that. I mean, there is also some value to having just market awareness, I guess, and
That
having people
that's
people
why.
stay engaged. Like you need to stay engaged, right? Like I don't want to watch an entire ESPN segment, but I will watch the plays of the week. I will watch the top 10,
Yeah.
every time. Like if I have 30 seconds, like I'll watch top 10 all day. Like let's go. I want to see this crazy stuff. But again, I think long term people are going to get wrecked on this. But it's very odd because it's just another market segment where we haven't really seen any kind of history, so we don't know where it's going to go.
Of course.
Panini's doing these blockchain cards where you download the digital card and put it in your digital portfolio on the internet, and you don't have the physical card, you just have the picture of the card. And some of them are selling for huge money. Like it's crazy how much money some of these cards are bringing. But the generation that they're playing to is somewhat of, in my opinion, the gamer generation that is used to spending money
Yeah.
on something that's not tangible, be it a hat or a new outfit for their character in their game. I
And
don't know. It's not my thing, but that doesn't mean that it may not actually still work.
you bring up an interesting topic about the gaming community. I mean, I've never spent any money on anything like Xbox Live, but I mean, I would buy my nephew gift cards for Xbox Live. I would do that because they
Mm-hmm.
loved it.
Yeah.
And so other gamers, adults and kids, are like, hey, I want that because parents are like, oh, okay, I'm gonna buy them that $50 highlight reel or whatever. Like I don't care. I'm buying it for my child. So I do see a market, and I'm sure that's part of that's one place in the market where they aim for this. But it's interesting to see whether that will stay around or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as the two big companies, especially in the card side of it, if Topps and Panini decide to keep pushing it, then they can create a market. It's just for me again, I guess, and it's crazy to think this will make you old school, but I'm old school. I want to hold the card in my hand.
Oh,
I don't know. For me, I'd rather have that than a picture of it on the internet that says I own it. Like that's weird. You know.
yeah, and there's just no way around it. I'd much rather just own vintage stuff than play around with any of that NFT stuff because long term, I know what that stuff's going to do. I've seen it, over and over again, sell for record prices, and just whether that one like a Mano card one day gives up to 10 million, that has to do with maybe the popularity, but also due to inflation too. It's just how the money stuff's going to go.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I could see that would be interesting, and it may happen, is they put a QR code on the back of some new release stuff, and you can scan it into your wallet to where you can have the digital copy and the physical version.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you there. I think that would be a cooler way, and I think they're probably figuring something out of how that will, because we did that during COVID, right, with our phones where we scan menus,
Yep,
and
yep.
what's to say is like as technology gets better, it's like, oh, just go right on here, bam, instantly just done, right?
Well, in all sincerity, if I own the card, then I should be able to own the digital version too, right? Like if I own the property rights to that card, like that makes sense to me. But in the same breath, if I then sell the digital copy, what does that mean for the physical copy? Like that is just a weird tie-in. I don't know. Um, Again, if somebody gifted me $1,000 worth of blockchain cards, I would sell them instantly.
Right.
I just it's just not any appeal to me at all.
Yeah, no, especially for you as a card shop owner, you're like, I'm not gonna do anything with these. Yeah, Let's do some. Let's jump from there, man. Let's actually do some NBA talk. We'll get
Yeah.
into some baseball talk after, but we had some interesting games last night. We had Utah and the Grizzlies. The Utah take down Memphis. They take a 3-1 lead over them now, and Ja had a strong game, not as strong as his first game. Um, and the guy who we've been talking about for on this podcast for months, stuff is still down. Donovan Mitchell comes out, scores 30. Um, he missed game one. That's why they lost. I think that Utah would have finished the sweep. But showing something there, man. Like, are you going out again, man? Why isn't Mitchell stuff going up? It just doesn't make sense. Jaw stuff jumped in game one. Why isn't Mitchell stuff jumping?
It's really odd because I've thought Mitchell stuff should be better than Tatum for a long time. Um, the markets are very different. I mean, obviously Tatum plays big market and plays for a team that is a little more storied, in my opinion, than the Jazz. That said, I don't think they're ever going to go up, man. Like, I think they would have to make a deep, deep run for his stuff to explode because he can drop 30 and everyone just goes, eh, no one cares, man. Like, it's such a weird thing. He's that guy. He's Philip Rivers. He's Philip Rivers.
Uh,
You can have a lot of good numbers, and on paper, you look like an absolute stud. But because you play in a kind of crap market, it's like, eh.
so they go on to win, and they would end up playing the winner of the Lakers win. They'll play the Lakers, which again will be an interesting series. Or they will
That's
play,
funny.
or they'll play maybe the Mavericks if the Mavericks end up beating the Clippers. So there would be those two scenarios. Again, it's just it'll be one thing to say. It's like, can they win one of those series? And they sure can. And maybe they will be in the conference. Maybe they will be where Denver was at last year, where they could have possibly been last year. It's like, Denver comes back, beat them down 3-1. I hope that Memphis doesn't somehow pull that off for them. Then I would say just sell all your Mitchell stuff right now because that stuff's never
For the
going.
hobby, though, it would be good.
Oh yeah, I think so because
Yeah,
there's
because
some good
I don't
players
think
still
it.
in there.
One, I just don't think it matters if for the hobby. I don't think it's going to mean anything if the Jazz gets out of this with a 4-1 or whatever. Like, I mean, I don't think it's going to make a bump, as we've already seen. Mitchell stuff isn't exploding.
No,
But if Ja could come back from this and lead his team to actually beating that seed, his stuff would absolutely go crazy for a little bit. Like, there would be an impact.
yeah, you're right, and I think, and we'll talk about them next, but it's like, the Mitchell stuff, they really have to go to like the conference finals for him to actually like to bump, and it's like, people maybe, I don't know where you're at on the Rudy Gobert, great defensive player. Some people think he could be in the MVP conversation with the analytics and how they run the offense through him. But I think Gobert is one of those guys where I think he's expendable. I think Mitchell's the guy on that team. But
For sure. I mean, he runs the offense too. I mean, when he's not on the floor in game one, they fell apart.
right, yeah, exactly, and that just proves it all. Like that when Mitchell's on the floor, Mitchell, and like, man, when he could just, he opens up that floor so much, and Gobert
Hmm.
obviously like down low, he makes an impact on the defense and on the offensive end. But I just think without Mitchell, like that team will not advance, would not go past the semifinals.
Yeah, I just don't feel like they're deep enough. Ironically, I do think there's some other teams that are facing injuries right now that do have a deeper bench and that can for sure potentially overcome losing one of their big stars. But I personally, even if Mitchell ends up in the finals, I'm not buying any Mitchell stuff.
I would entertain if his stuff is still down. I would, I guess, just depends on how he would increase, because him, and I would compare him more to like maybe like a Damian Lillard kind of type. I guess someone who,
See, I'd almost rather buy Dame though, personally. I don't
yeah,
know why. I think I like his game better. Maybe. I mean, I watched the entire game last night. Mitchell did some things, but there was nothing I saw from Mitchell that I was like, man, that's the guy. Like that's who I need to just plow money at because look at this dominant force.
yeah,
There was nothing he was doing that was literally like inspiring me to break out my wallet. Whereas Dame, like when he pulls up from 88 feet away, it feels like it's got a pretty flashy game, man. I kind of like it, you
yeah.
know.
It's Curry like when when he does
Yeah,
that. You know,
yeah, I like it. You know, there's nothing that Spider's doing that's making me go, man. I got to get the ATM card out and let's spend some money.
that's why a conference finals run would, I think, make his stuff more attractive, at least.
If that team stays together and they don't win it all this year, which again they have to go through murderous row to get there, but let's say they don't win it all this year. I'll say they're not going to win it all this year. Do you believe that next year that's like a force? Like, is the Jazz now the new Celtics Lakers? Like, are they the next dynasty? Like, I don't look at that team and think they're just going to run through everybody for the next 3 years. I just don't.
No, I think there would have to be a trade in there. Like you have to get Conley out of there and trade him for another piece. Like you have to get something else in there that will change that team around. And but I mean, it is interesting. Dwayne Wade being a part owner there, and
Yeah.
so I mean, there is some interesting factors there to make Utah attractive for a destination. Let's talk about the next game from last night. Wizards take down 76ers. Embiid gets hurt. Bigger news there. That really hurts the Embiid card market. I was never in on it just because he's always hurt. Like I would not want to own
Yeah.
that guy. Um, but yeah, the Wizards take them down. I don't want to spend too much time on this game. I think the Sixers come back out, game 5, take them down. It's just they're just far more talent. They have far more talent than the Wizards do.
The only thing I saw in that game that was interesting to me was it does seem like Rui might be a stayer. And by that, I mean, I'm not going out and buying any, but I probably wouldn't be selling any right now either if I had him. I think he's interesting. Like, he showed some pretty big heart and took some interesting shots. Westbrook kind of dominates the floor when he's out there, but Rui took some shots, man, that I was just like, okay, like he's arrived. Like he's kind of a guy now.
The only guy that I want to own in this series, I guess Ben Simmons. I still think if they make a finals run, the run of the finals, I would say maybe buy a few of his cards right now. But the only other guy on there that I would want to own long term is probably Bradley Beal, just because I still think there's something to be happened there. I don't think long term he's going to be on the Wizards.
No, I think he's a superstar somewhere else down the road.
Yeah, and he's getting up there where there has to be some frustration on this team, where he thinks they could go farther. But the thing with the Wizards is I don't know what kind of moves they're going to make or if they're a destination for somebody. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things that maybe they could come out and win Game 5. If Embiid's hurt, they dominated the floor tonight. Maybe they could do it again. Because when Embiid's out there, it changes up their whole game.
Yeah. It's definitely it was an interesting game. I mean, I watched that game as well. Touching on the Jazz game, or pardon me, the Grizzlies game one more time, just for a second. It did feel like last night that at any point the Grizz could come back and take that game over. Like they kept getting within one or two, then they would tie it up. Like they felt like they were never truly out of it, which to me is actually just a fault of the Jazz because you can't do that against a top tier team
No,
where you can't crack the door because again, as much as I'm not a fan, LeBron's going to kick that door down. If they get to where they're letting those big teams come back on them, man, I think they're going to get wrecked. Like I do not see them coming out of the West. Do you?
no. I mean, it would have to fall. Everything would have to fall in line for them. Like they would have to, maybe get a hurt Mavericks team with Doncic or something. It's for them. I do think they can make the conference finals though, but it's like I said, everything would have to fall right for them. And you're right. Last night, the third quarter, Memphis comes out and takes like a 15-6 run
Mhm.
there to start the third quarter. But although, like I said, Memphis just doesn't have the firepower.
Yeah.
There was just no way I ever thought Memphis was going to win that game. I just didn't because they just don't have enough.
I mean, I would really like to see them end up having to match up with the Suns, obviously, just because I think, again, I think the Suns have, I think they have their number to a degree, and I think they have enough firepower where they could really just drop a big quarter on them that they can't get over.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see that, and we'll the Sixers. We'll get back to that game. I think the Sixers finish them off next game. I think you're going to see a big game from. Actually, I think you're going to see a big game from Simmons and maybe Harris, like Harris did in Game 1. But we'll see how they're going to have to step up their defense on that one. And no, man, let's actually talk Lakers Suns Game 5 tonight, and it's tied 2-2. AD goes out and doesn't come back. We saw the whole Lakers team kind of go down in like shambles in that second half. Chris Paul did come back. He definitely was not how he was in the previous 3 games, and he made his impact there. And now it's turned into, I guess, a fun series. It hasn't been as fun as I think neither me or you thought that it would be, because I thought we kind of expected just a fun, better series. Like the best series I thought so far has been the Mavericks Clippers. We'll touch on them after this, but that's this series has kind of been like back and forth, kind of just ugly in certain ways.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just sad the Suns didn't sweep them, but that's okay
That was never
because
going to happen.
they're going to get the dub tonight. I will say emphatically. I think the Suns just have way too many threats without AD. I think you're going to see some really big numbers tonight from the Suns team if AD doesn't play. And the thing is, if he plays, is he going to be on limited minutes? If he grabs his leg at any point, is he getting pulled out? It's just when he's on the floor, he is such a problem.
Well, I mean, to be honest, like he was on the floor in Game 4, and he wasn't a problem. I mean, his numbers. Look at his numbers. He was not that good. His presence is not known.
It feels like to me though that he's playing through injuries right now, and he's not
Yeah.
playing to his ability. I think if we had a fully healthy AD, which I don't know if we've seen that in a while anyway, but if we had a fully healthy AD, I think he would be a very big problem for the Suns. Without him, I don't see a path to victory outside of, again, okay, so LeBron's going to go score 50. I mean, no, because he's going to get double teamed every single possession. So then it comes down to Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder. That's going to be the guy that's going to determine whether or not they advance.
Yeah, he's gonna be the guy because he turns the ball over he has some awful turnovers, and LeBron's had
Like
some.
him and
What was that?
Caruso, like that's going to be the guys that lead the team over this team. There's no way, man.
Well, I will say right now, I do think AD comes out and plays tonight. I also do think that you saw in Game 2 and 3 that with AD when he's out there, I mean the Suns had no answer for him in those 2 games, and
Yeah.
and whether if he was hurt in Game 4, we'll see. Maybe Game 5. That's where we're actually gonna notice something where. Okay, so AD I think is gonna be limited to how he plays tonight. I think the Lakers are going to play a different style. LeBron has taken the backseat to all this. You've noticed how LeBron's been playing. He has not played, and I don't know if that's because of injury or whether just LeBron knows that he could turn. He waits till this third round to, put it out there just because his body can't handle a full 19 or 16 game postseason anymore. But definitely with the injury, maybe that's cause for concern. But I think LeBron's going to come out tonight and just dominate and take them up. I think that because they know what the Suns. If the Suns go up 3-2, then the Lakers have a problem. So that's why I think that you're going to see LeBron turned up and actually score 40 and
Give me a. So obviously you're saying Lakers win. What's your score prediction?
I don't know. I mean I think the Lakers win by 6. I think they win tonight. I think LeBron's gonna turn on, and I think you're gonna see those role guys actually step up. I think LeBron's talking to
Yeah.
all these guys tonight, saying, "Hey, AD's gonna be not 100% this whole series because I don't think he is. He's grabbed his leg like 5 or 6 different times in these games. It's like the guy he's taken some hard hits to the ground too. It's we seen I saw a few of those in Game 3 where it's like, man, that's not good. So
I'm
and
gonna say right now, whoever wins tonight wins the series.
yeah,
I
it,
think tonight's the game. I think tonight's the pivotal game in all of this.
I,
Um,
I think the Suns could actually afford probably because of AD being hurt. I think that the Suns could afford losing tonight's game and still coming back and tying up the series. I don't think the Lakers could afford that just because of the unknown status of AD. I think Chris Paul
yeah,
is now getting into healthier form. So, well, we will see. But I hope these next games are fun. Because overall, I want to see a fun series, and it's been just injuries and just, it's not fun.
I
Like,
see 113-98 Suns. I think they're gonna dominate them.
yeah,
We'll see. We'll see.
put your money where your mouth is and bet that tonight on DraftKings.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. Sponsored by DraftKings. Again, keep in mind, a lot of Suns haters thought the Suns had no shot against this Lakers team. And
I,
now there's a lot of Lakers fans suddenly backpedaling and going, oh no, the Suns might be real.
Well, I think here's the realistic thing is with the healthy AD, the Suns have no chance. But with AD being 50%, I mean, come on, you saw game 2 and 3, right? They had no answer for AD, and AD goes out. When AD went out, that's when the game kind of got away.
Well, yeah. I mean,
They,
again, who are they going to put on Aiden? Drummond? Like, honestly,
they,
like old
they,
man Drummond?
they
Like, that's
still
it.
have guys. And Drummond's not that old. He's like 29, maybe
Yeah, but
he's
he looks
30.
like he's 200. Like, he
Yeah,
looks like the old dude. Come on,
he
man. Like, and
but
he's big and he's slow and, like, he's not AD.
I mean, come on, listen. I mean, Aiden's been surprisingly good, but I'm not going to say Aiden's AD. He's not. But
Would you buy Aiden right now? That's
no
a good
way.
question.
No,
Yeah, I've had a handful of people this week try to sell me DeAndre Ayton rookie autograph stuff, and I'm just like, what? No,
not
like I don't
touch.
want that.
I do not
Like
touch that guy.
I've got $6 for you. And
It's
they're like,
like
no, these are selling for 300. Like why? Like I don't want that guy.
it's like Tyler Hero. Like I never wanted to touch that guy ever. Even when he was, it's like, do I think he will be good? I do think he will be good. Well, I think his cards ever sell for what they did last year? Not a chance in hell. No way. I
I've got a prediction for you.
they
Here's my prediction for Tyler Hero. Inside of 2 years, he is a bench player.
I think he's in. Here's my prediction: he will be traded this offseason. And I just think he's going to get traded because, and we can talk about the Heat. We haven't talked about them getting eliminated. The Bucks. That Bucks net series is going to be awesome. That we're going to talk about the
Hmm.
Nets next year. Well, let's just wrap up the Lakers Suns here. You got the Suns. I got the Lakers tonight, and I think LeBron dominates. But like I said, the Suns. If they're fully healthy and get going, like it's going to be a fun game, I just hope for a fun game. Um, but let's talk about the Celtics Nets or not Celtics Nets. Um, the Bucks sweeping. I mean, man, it wasn't even close, and none of those games were close. And the Heat now have a lot of questions. The Bucks are going to be fun to watch next round as they're going to play the Nets, but the Heat have a lot of questions, man. They're first is Butler. Should you be worried a little bit about Butler? In that series, because he was not. Everyone kept putting him in the top 10 last year after making, and I guess maybe he was or I've just never been a Butler guy. I never wanted to go out and say I'm going to buy and own some Jimmy Butler stuff. He is a great player. I don't think he's top 20 in the league.
Yeah, I wouldn't have him on my list. I mean, I don't think about that guy ever.
And with them now, there's a lot of questions. Do you bring Dragic back on that contract because it was only I think a 1 year? Do you bring him back? who do you know, because they have cap space, they can make stuff. Pat Riley's a genius. You know, they're a destination. You know, so it's gonna be interesting to see what they can make happen. I think Harrow's gonna get traded, and some whatever Pat Riley does steer up. They still have to re-sign Duncan Robinson as well to bring him back because I don't think you want to let him walk, depending on how much he's gonna get offered. But it does seem like he will make about 15 million or something. But the Heat have a lot of questions going into the offseason. And now with the Bucks moving on, and I think the Nets are going to wrap up the series against the Celtics tonight. And that's going to be the championship right there, kind of, right?
That's what's rough too, though. It's like touching on the Heat for a second. So since we live in such a connected world now, too, I think you're going to see hero stuff's going to just absolutely crushed. Like it's going to be the lowest we've seen. Because again, you've got guys like Barkley trolling them on Twitter, being like, you know, calling Hero Bubble Boy, and you know this isn't the bubble, and you know, and it's just like, man, like they're posting pictures of the snarl and being like eliminated. You know, it's just like nobody wants to own the guys that are being made fun of for losing. Like I don't want to buy that guy. So I think you're going to see a fire sale on his stuff. If it gets low enough, maybe there's a play there. But again, I'd almost rather just light my money on fire than buy that dude. Like I don't care about that kid. He's an average ball player with a cool shot occasionally. You know, like I don't see him as.
I mean, I think he'll be a good player. I mean, I don't think what you saw last year was a, you know, just you know, kind of like Gordon Dragic's career. Like, remember when he came out with Phoenix in the 2010 or 2011 playoffs, where he lit the Spurs on fire and literally annihilated them himself. I kind of see maybe that kind of career for him, where it can be. It's not a long shot, you know.
Would you rather put $1,000 into Tyler Hero right now, or $1,000 into Dylan Brooks?
I would say Dylan Brooks just because him playing alongside Ja, you know, and we don't know what Hero's going to be. So I mean, if Hero gets traded and he has his own team, I would, you know, wouldn't balk at it, but I would just rather own Dylan Brooks just because he plays right next to Ja, who I think is one of the top 15 best players in the league.
Yeah, I also just feel like, you know, if they do keep that team together, maybe even add one more piece, that, you know, the Grizzlies are kind of here for a while. Like, I think we're going to see them again.
They have to add another piece. I mean, no doubt. They're going to have to add somebody, trade somebody as well. Do they keep Jackson going forward? That's a question, you know. It's like maybe he is expendable and you do trade him to a team that needs a big like him.
Yeah.
So I mean, I do think they have a few moves there to be played. They also have some cap space as well, but I mean, not for long because Ja Morant's going to get his extension probably at the end of next year. But I
still like his stuff too. Honestly, like if they somehow, let's say they do get bounced out of this series, right, and the Grizzlies are done, and if Ja stuff falls to some new market lows. Specifically, like I really like his Prism Silvers. I don't really like base stuff anyway.
Right.
I think he could be a buy because I think that's a dude that's going to be around. He's got a lot of flash. He's got a lot of charisma. Like that's a guy people want to watch.
And yeah, not only that, but his stuff is just so down. Like if you compare it to what Zion's is and all this stuff, like why wouldn't you go out and just get a few of his cards? It just doesn't make sense. Why not? You know.
And here's a good litmus test too. Would you rather watch 10 minutes of Ja highlights, or would you rather watch 10 minutes of Donovan Mitchell highlights? For me, I would rather watch Ja because I mean, I think he's just awesome. Like he moves the ball so well. He's so fast. You know, Mitchell does score, but even watching the game last night, yeah, he put up a nice amount of points and like he led his team to victory. But I'm watching the game and I'm just like, man, I don't feel like this is the superstar. Like I don't look at that guy and be like, that's the guy. Like I just don't.
I think Mitchell has it in him, and like I said, I think he's been around now for this is his, you know, he's in that Tatum draft, so I think this is his 5th season. So I think he's going to have to add some stuff to his game, which I do think now having Dwayne Wade there is going to make a difference. And if they make the Western Conference Finals, man, I do think you see some of his stuff drop. I do think he will get a little bit more spotlight and just it's just one of those things where it has the fault right for them.
Yeah, I just think again, it's so tough because if his stuff doubled, it would still be relatively cheap compared to other
Yeah,
star caliber players.
I mean,
So it's like, what does he
Jaw,
have to do?
Jaw sells for more than him right now.
Yeah, yeah. Like, what's he gonna have to do, to get his stuff to be on par with other people? And then here's the other scary part: if he jumps based on hype, right? Like, okay, well they won, so or they took a deep run. Come postseason, does his stuff just plummet? I
Uh,
would say yes. Once he's not top of mind, especially once 2021 NFL starts, I think you'll see his stuff get murdered. Like it'll
uh,
be so bad again. Because again, his stuff isn't worth a ton now and he's got him to the playoffs, right?
yeah, no,
I don't
100%, man.
know, man. I just think there's a lot of risk in buying his stuff, and I think that's why people who are a little more seasoned are leaving it alone.
Yeah.
Again, I would much rather buy any number of dudes than that. I'll take it a step further. I would rather buy Hero at his lowest
Yeah.
than Mitchell right now.
Mitchell's stuff's pretty low right now, so I'd much rather just not light my money on fire and go buy Mitchell. Because if he pops, then you could sell it then. Heroes Heroes never popping to the levels that he did again. This is
But
not.
could a $5 hero become 10? Again, that's always what I look at. And I think yes. I think it traded to a big team. And like you said,
Yeah.
if he became a top three on that team and he was running an offense on that team, man, that gets weird. If he's in the right environment, maybe he flourishes. Maybe. I don't think it's Miami for him.
Yeah, it's a good point. Uh, I mean, yeah, man. And let's get right into the last team that we didn't talk about. That's actually the most interesting series: Clippers, Mavericks. Um, Luca being hurt. Obviously, you saw that in Game 3 and 4. It really affected them, and that's why I think they lost, especially in Game 3. Game 3, they were up by like 15 points. They and then Luca is not the same just in that the rest of that game. I mean,
Yeah, I
he
hate it too because I really feel like he is a changing of the guard type player. Like this is a guy that I mean I'm really high on Luca, and I kick myself for not going after his stuff earlier because I had opportunities like we all did,
right.
um, and I should have definitely taken a shot at him. It's just I worried about his market. I mean, and again, his marketability is great, but his market that he plays in is like meh. Outside
I,
of Cuban, like I mean, Mark Cuban, I think brings some attention to that team. But honest to God, if Luka didn't play for them, would anyone even know a single player on the Mavericks?
Dallas or Dirk Nowitzki.
But I'm saying
You're,
current player. Like,
no,
could you have named their lineup if Luka wasn't there? Could you have told me they're starting five?
I can just tell you that Kristaps Porzingis played on the team, but yeah, and maybe a
Yeah.
hard way just because he got traded there, but yeah.
And
Um,
Porzingis looked a little better this game too. I mean, Porzingis has been kind of garbage this series, to
oh
the
my
point where
god,
I almost wonder if it's better to not have him on the floor at all.
he's a frustrating player, man. I mean, for what that guy was in I think he was in the 2015 draft. What the guy was then, I mean, and just what he is now. I mean, it's like what happened. I know he got hurt, but
Yeah,
I
but he's really, really taken a fall, and just his overall skill set. It feels like.
yeah, he's like in no man's land with his skill set compared to where he was. He looks like Sean Bradley out there, kind of.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty sad, but yeah, Luca having the neck injury. Now the Clippers look like they're going to probably coast, and I'm not going to say it just yet because um, Game 5 tonight. Maybe we'll see Luca play with a little bit. It's hard to say with the medicine and all that. Like, will Luca come out and play well? We saw Chris Paul's shoulder get better after 1 week, so I have no idea what happened to his shoulder to begin with, but it's like will they do something to fix Luca's neck? And maybe he comes out and scores 45 tonight, and
I hope he comes out with all that weird tape all over him, like they keep taping everybody up this year. Everybody's covered in tape. Everyone's covered in this black tape. It's awesome.
You remember as a kid when you're doing like projects and it was like, how did tape get here and how did tape get? That's like how they're looking.
So here's the question for you: what's more likely? The Mavs can still win that series with a hurt Luka, or Chris Paul ends up on crutches before the season ends.
Oh man, I mean, I think Dallas. I hope Chris Paul stays healthy. I just do. I hate seeing injuries, but
Playoff Chris Paul is never healthy though.
no,
Like
he's
he's
always on
going to find
crutches.
a way. He's always on crutches, man. He's done. He's going to find a way.
But I do think. I mean, it's not a long shot that the Mavericks come out and win. You know,
Could
the
they win with a seeded Luca though? I don't
no,
think
of
they could
course
win
not.
with if there's no way.
No way. That team cannot even keep up with them. I mean, Kawhi has played out of his mind, and I'll give a lot of props to Kawhi. Guy's been phenomenal this series, up and down. Like it was just weird how they lost those first two games, and that guy was still scoring. I mean, he was shooting over 50%. He scored 40 points, I think, the game too, and they still lost.
Here's what's weird about Kawhi too, though. You talk about a guy that doesn't have hobby value that has crazy playability. Like his stuff's doing better this year, but last year his stuff wasn't good. It was okay. I mean, he's a decent star, but here's the thing: I think he's Marshawn Lynch of the NBA. He's bad with the media. He's an expressionless character. You know, he's kind of a thug on the court. He gets into some.
I mean, for his stuff overall, for his stuff overall, I don't feel that like he is he's how do like first of all, Kawhi's frustrating, right? His whole offseason stuff very frustrating. Just waiting and all that. And he could do what he wants to do. That's his life. He could go about it. It's just the way he goes about it that the media and fans, very much don't dislike. And then for all we know, as the Clippers lose the series, Kawhi's gone. I'm sorry, that guy's not coming back. He's gonna look at his situation. He's like, God, Paul George locked into this long contract. We have no picks, no salary cap at all, and that guy's like, okay, what's out there for me? Do I go to New York? Do I go to the Knicks? Probably not. Maybe he does come back. I don't know because he is a California guy, but the Clippers are in big trouble. I think they fire Tyronn Lue if they lose the series. Just like Ballmer's going to shake things up big time if they lose the series. But yeah, man, I think the Clippers will move on. It's just with Luka and the neck injury. It's so hard, man. Neck injuries suck and they can take a long time. And it affects everything. It affects your passing. It affects your shooting. And like I said, Luka will have to come out and score 50 or do what he did in game one, just light him up. Because
I would have really have liked to seen them just sweep too. It would have been a cool thing,
that would have been awesome. And it would have been so great for the hobby just because everyone would have been super excited for Luka. Because they would end up playing, I mean, I guess it depends how they would pan out, but they would end up playing for maybe the 3 or 2 seed. But that would have been really fun.
I still think too that if they do get bounced out of this series, which I mean, if I had to predict, I think they will. If you see a dip in Luka in the next 2 to 3 months, it's probably worth buying.
I would definitely buy it. Yeah,
Yeah,
we know
it's
the stuff is
probably
going
worth
to
it.
I would definitely go out there and get one of his prisms just because. I mean, people are gonna be selling, especially as football comes in. Go out there and get one of his cards. It's kind of like if you have like anything, Trout, just go out there and like get it when it comes to off season because people are just gonna be selling Trout stuff and go out and get it because that guy even still 5-10 years down the line, his cards are still gonna be up ridiculously. You have anything else that you want to talk about, Ken, before we get going?
The only other guy that's intriguing to me right now, because of the social media stuff especially, is Trae Young.
Yeah.
The whole playing the villain against New York, like I think it's actually really marketable. he's got a crazy look with his crazy hair, and like he's a flashy player, and like he's yelling at the crowd, and like he's shushing the crowd. Like he's got an opportunity to see some serious hobby impact if they can somehow make a deep run.
Well, they're going to eliminate the Knicks, and it's a great point on bringing him up because I mean, first of all, I was never high on this guy, but he has proved me wrong. He could do it in the playoffs, and he's doing it against New York,
Yeah.
which is not easy to do, and playing in that environment. Uh, I mean, they're definitely the better team in that series, and
Mm,
they go on. They're going to play the Sixers, and they have a chance to beat the Sixers. I mean,
I
they
think
have
so.
better shooting.
Well, especially we got to figure out, is Embiid going to be healthy?
Yeah, exactly.
And again, I think without Embiid being healthy and putting in good minutes, I think they absolutely could beat them. And I think they could beat them handedly because they do score in bunches.
Right.
That's a team that could literally, after the first half, be up 35 on you.
Can you imagine the conference finals being the Nets and the Hawks?
I just wouldn't watch.
I know it would be a like what's
No.
going on right now.
Let me get some NFT highlights. Who do we pay so we can watch the highlights of that terrible game?
That series would be a roller coaster ride, man. Uh, it's just I don't know, man. I didn't think Brooklyn was gonna be able to turn on, and I'm still not advancing them yet because I think the Bucks. I still have the Bucks in the East. God, they look so damn good. It's just hard.
Hmm.
They scored 106 points between the three of them. Unbelievable.
Yeah, the Bucks have been playing very well. What's scary to me is the level of talent on the Nets.
Yeah.
If they play to their talent, they're probably unbeatable.
Yeah, I agree. It's gonna be the Bucks is the only thing standing between them and the finals, and barring a
Yeah,
Kevin Durant injury.
I really just hope that Giannis can stay healthy.
I think Giannis has the most chance to stay healthy over Kyrie or Durant, who's been
Yeah,
more of injury prone in the past. But yeah,
but I think that's the key piece. The thing is, any of those guys on the Nets could go out and they still actually have a pretty intense squad. If we lose Giannis, like even for 2 games, I mean, like I think you're done.
yeah, no,
The thing is, the Nets are a super team, right? I mean, reality, like they are a super team as far as I'm concerned.
yeah. I mean, they are
Because
one of the
if
most
one
biggest
piece
three.
if one piece sat down, like they're still going to be a force. Like that's what's tough. If Kyrie literally decides to go to the Bahamas and not come to the game, like because he might, you just don't know. I mean, he might just be like, you know what, man, I'm out. I'm going to go on vacation. See you, boys.
The
But they could still win. Like that's what's scary.
the whole like, I did not expect Kyrie just to be this good. Just I mean, and I guess it's just the environment. It's so funny watching him and then watching him 2 years ago again on the Celtics. I mean, he looked garbage. I never wanted to own anything Kyrie ever again after that.
Yeah,
Like just because of how he played his cards there and everything. I mean, just and then now you watch him, it's just like here's the Kyrie we all knew. It's like, yeah, man, he is that team's phenomenal. They know each other, and uh, I didn't think it was gonna work. And I mean, maybe the jury's still out on that. Maybe Durant gets hurt, but like that team is. I don't think anyone can stop them. They're just so damn good. Durant's playing on all cylinders. Kyrie is unbeatable, and Harden coming out in the second quarter, just doing what he's doing, man. It's just you have to literally play all 48 against these guys. You can't take any time off. That's the scary
yeah,
thing about them. But
yeah. I'm gonna hate it if they somehow run through everybody and win because I don't really want to see them win it. But they are a force.
yeah, it kind of just goes back to when Durant joined the Warriors like that year. I just didn't want to watch anything basketball.
Yeah,
I just didn't.
for sure.
But
But final prediction: Suns by 13 tonight. That's the most important part of all this.
I think you had more than 13. You had like 15 there. So
I'm going to say 13 and book it, Dano. And I'll tell you this: when it happens, check your phone because you'll see a message from me.
cool. And if it doesn't happen, I won't write to you because I'm not that kind of person. I'm just like, hey man, how's your back going? But yeah, man. Ken, thanks as always, man. I'll see you next Tuesday live at 9 a.m. And man, go Lakers.